All right, guys. We're going to Blair. Thank you, Blair. You want to say a little about yourself and the group, and if you need anything, let me know. Okay, walk through.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Thanks again for being here.
Yeah, no
Let's get from Blair.
Thanks, everybody. My name is Blair Adams. I've got my own company where I was kind of doing graphic design stuff for a while, some 3D work, and that kind of evolved over the last few years into doing a lot more virtual reality stuff, a lot of Unity kind of game development stuff I'm getting into nowadays too. So that is me, a little bit about Virtual Reality Detroit. We kind of broke things off into two tracks, so it's the same meetup group, but I kind of saw at the first couple of meetings that some people weren't really there to code. I was kind of trying to do some walkthrough tutorials, and some people were just trying to find out what virtual reality was about. So to me, it kind of made sense to kind of split stuff off a little bit and have one part where we're actually kind of getting our hands on and doing some coding and getting into Unity and putting together apps. And then the other part of the group is where we kind of talk about what's new in virtual reality. We go over like all the different head devices or head-mounted displays and get a chance to kind of try those on. We had a demo night, I think it was last month, where we had a Microsoft HoloLens, we had the HTC Vive, and I think we had an Oculus Rift and a couple of other lesser devices too, so people kind of got a chance to tour around the room and got a chance to try everything out. So definitely kind of the latest, greatest happenings over there, no experience required on that side. And really, these first couple here, it's no experience required tonight. If you've never used Unity before, as long as you got a laptop, you should be able to kind of follow along on what we're doing. And hopefully in future meetings, we'll start to get into some other kind of devices too. Since I know it's going to be a lot of new people tonight, I decided to kind of stick around in the cheap Google Cardboard. But really, the VR stuff is so closely related. Usually, it's not too difficult to get from Cardboard to one of the other devices. There's some extra input things and some extra things that you can kind of take into account on the other side. But really, they're all kind of built around that same general principle of giving two cameras, one for each eye. And when you put those inside of here, you're basically looking out of a left eye and a right eye camera that are right next to each other, which gives stuff kind of a magical, kind of a 3D sense to it. So I guess out of curiosity, how many people in here, a few questions for you guys, have tried VR before? Great. And how many have tried Unity or used Unity at all? Okay, great. And there was one more question. And I can't think of it, so I'll make up another one. Yes?
I have one question when it comes to VR.
Question. Yep.
Sometimes I look at through VR, but I always wondered, like, would it be better if there was two eyes through just one screen?
No, it wouldn't. It's a good question, but it's kind of a trick that they play on your brain in general. And there's new technologies coming out all the time, so it could turn out that it turns out to be, just kind of the visor, the two-eye kind of thing is what evolves.
Usually when I see with two visors, I don't see like one image. It's usually just I know how the eye works. If you put your finger there, you see different locations.
Right.
And maybe they actually did a little work on the image itself. You can do that, but maybe for right now, because when you do that right now, all I see is two of the same thing.
It shouldn't be. If it's done right, then you should be able to kind of look inside of here, and left eye and right eye, it's going to give you that same sort of effect that you get by holding your finger up. So that's kind of what it's built around right now. Like the Microsoft HoloLens, though, is a little different. So I think that's just kind of got the one visor display on there and still creates a 3D sense, too. And then there's all sorts of stuff like the Magic Leap is the one that kind of, I think Google invested like $500 million or so behind that company, and nobody really knows exactly what they do. They kind of keep on leaking different pieces of information about what they're creating there. So that's going off of a different technology where I believe they're beaming stuff into your eye. So all sorts of crazy developments and all sorts of money coming into it. So what the best solution is, we might not know for a couple of years yet, but all interesting stuff though. All right, so I guess I'll skip my last question. So just a couple of things from the comments out here. So we were talking about VR in the classroom a little bit. Google Expeditions is a classroom application which basically takes you around the world and lets you see different places through these kind of Google Cardboard devices. So this is a great website right here, the Upload VR is where I get a lot of my sources from for the other meetings.
The capture going?
What's that? I don't.
Capture for your desktop, do you have that going?
I do now. Yep, thank you.
Just want to make sure. Yeah.
Appreciate it. And I think that should do it for now. Recording time. Okay. Yep. So it's really cool. You know, you can drop it into a classroom. They've got a kind of a teacher edition and a student edition, so the teacher can guide the people, their students around whatever environment. You can go see the pyramids and kind of really engross yourself and have a presence of being in these places where you wouldn't get that same kind of effect of kind of looking at something on your computer. So they just made this public. It was in a beta version, so in the last week or so it became a public application, so anybody can get onto Google Expeditions now and download it and try it out and kind of see all the different cool things they have built inside of there. And they really built it for everyone from kindergarten up to growing adults. So there's different levels of information that you can kind of draw from and draw out of the application and kind of learn about all these different environments. So that is Google VR.
Have you tried it?
Expeditions, I've tried a little bit of it, yes. And
What's your favorite?
I don't have a favorite yet, and I know a lot more kind of came on the market this week. So kind of, man, I meet up and I'll favorite for you on the
You
weekend.
ever attended a buffalo one where you were on the savannah? You know they had where the whales would sing, you know,
Oh.
you play the whale singing?
Yeah.
It's like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're so cool. And that reminds me, too, the audio, you know, is a really kind of important part of the VR experience, too, to really take you to those other places. You can hit on the vision. So we got 5 senses, right? So you get the vision, and then you get the audio, too, and that really adds an extra level to kind of fooling your brain into thinking that you're in all these kind of different environments. So, yeah, thanks for bringing that up. And let's see if we can get...
Stretch out the top part to make it fill the whole screen. Right now it's just capturing that one portion of the Chrome window.
All right, and well, let me get out of here now. Maybe. All right, I think I got to stop it for a second and get over into our other application here. Yeah, so Vector Form, that was actually the first place that I got to try the HTC Vive at. So they had that set up at a couple of different meetings out there. So yeah, I thought that VR was a cool technology, and then in a couple of years it was going to be amazing. But after I got a chance to try out the HTC Vive, it just blew my mind away, and to see what was already possible, the controllers inside of there. So the Oculus Rift is just kind of releasing their controllers right now too. But again, so you got the ears, you got the eyes, and then you almost have the touch right there too. So it's 3 different kind of senses that you're kind of fooling your brain into kind of believing, and you can do amazing kind of painting things inside of there, and the exactness that you can get with these devices is pretty incredible. So on that note, we'll do a little more talking, but I wanted to make sure that we kind of jump in. So has everybody got a chance that wants to download the Unity app already? Everybody all set to go there?
Ours is taking a minute. Is it work?
What's it?
Ours is taking a minute.
Is it? Okay. Okay, so I'll try and kind of slow down a little up here too. And there is one other thing that I'm hoping that we're going to be able to get, depending upon our internet connection. So I was trying to figure out some kind of cool, short little kind of VR thing to give people something that they could kind of go home with, and that we could do it in a short period of time. And finally, at about 3 o'clock in the morning last night, I figured out something that would probably be good. And so, yeah, if I start to fall asleep or mumble up here, I'm kind of running on fumes right now, so you can just throw something at me. And
Have you looked at WebVR at all?
not much now.
Mozilla is anywhere able to use phones, tablets, or desktop, whatever. I was just curious what your take was on that.
I haven't spent a whole lot of time on it yet. Do you have anything that you can? Have you looked at it at all?
Yeah, I looked at it, and one of the of course it falls short, but I think, I work in web application for the consumer space, and it's going to be tough to get 10 people with headsets on, and sometimes in certain applications. So group design and things like that. Where I think, and I was just wondering what you think about the WebVR, but that's okay. Evidence. It's browser based, and it uses A-frame. Pretty around the area have been using.
Okay. Yeah, so that's definitely something I'll check into before our next meeting. All right, so what I think we're going to do tonight is we're going to take the survival shooter and we're going to turn that into a virtual reality experience. So, first step for that is we need to also download the survival shooter. So, if you guys can, let's see, what's the easiest way is probably the Unity Asset Store. If you Google that, that will take you to the place. So Google. What's that? We're going to, yes, but we're gonna grab the survival shooter first. Yep. So I just Googled Unity Asset Store, and that took me to the screen. So the Unity Asset Store is a really amazing place. Unity is about right here. When you add in the Asset Store, it really kind of takes things to another level. So you can create assets for this too. If you're a musician, if you're an artist, if you're a 3D artist, you can make assets for games and kind of sell them or give them away on here. So there's all sorts of stuff that's completely free on here, and great, amazing assets that are free. So all that different stuff, you got particle systems and complete games and audios and animations and all that kind of stuff. Again, a lot of it is free, and then some of it is cheaply priced too that you can buy. So you don't have to start from ground zero. You know, when you first kind of open up Unity, you see it, and it's this big gray screen, and there's not a whole lot going on inside of there. So a lot of times, if you don't have all the skills that required to kind of build up a VR app, it's a good idea to get some assets that you can kind of work from. All right, so that's what we're going to do right now. So Unity does a really good job of putting out some free assets and some tutorials. So that's what we're going to go to. Is we're going to go to the top free assets over here on the right-hand side. If you guys see that.
Are you getting the? Sorry.
I'm not. So, I think I'm going to have to.
People can see what you're doing.
Right, I think I'm going to have to start it and then start it again when we switch over to.
You can see it on the screen, but not in the camera. The camera can't see it. There's not enough way over there. It's over here.
Right. Yep. So.
So I think you just have to make it full screen and then. Oh, that was full screen. Be a little more on the right, I think. It's not getting the taskbar. Well, nothing will trouble the taskbar though, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you use taskbar or not.
Good point. All right.
You can never.
Okay. Okay. Yep, we'll go with that now. Remind me again, because I'm going to have to reset it again for the when we jump into Unity, and I'll probably forget.
Maybe. So I don't think it's recording right now. I think it's just. Was it recording right now?
It's recording right now, but I can't jump between screens while it's recording now.
Oh. All right.
Yep. So.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yep. So here we are in the asset store.
I think. Don't you have to hit the record button first? Did you already do that?
Oh, wow, look at that.
There we go. Okay.
All right, thank you, Chris. All right, that should make it a lot better. Okay. All right, so here we are in the asset store. We're over in the top free category. Everybody making that far? So, again, some really great free assets here. I'll just look at the standard assets real quick. We're not going to use this one. We're going to end up using the survival shooter. But just to kind of show you, again, you're really kind of building from games that are more or less kind of complete. So you can kind of get this game already set up. It's got a character inside of it. It's already set up to move around when you're moving your character around and using your buttons. You got different pickup objects. And inside of standard assets, they got vehicles. They've got all sorts of different plane games. So all this kind of stuff that you can really kind of investigate and reverse engineer and get into the code for how they put all this stuff together and then kind of build on it too. So you can just kind of look at what's here, take it as complete, and then kind of drop other 3D models inside of here. Or you can kind of try and figure out what they're doing here and then just change around different details. So, you know, you might open up the file and say, okay, how can I turn this from a yellow, what's that called, ring here, into a red ring? Or how can I make the plane fly faster? So you can kind of, instead of just starting from scratch, you get in there and you just kind of tweak certain details and can kind of create something of your own. And that is that. We're going to go ahead and jump over to, and it moved on me. So if we're at the main screen, I'm going to back up a screen here, and we go to the standard assets, the top free. We're looking for survival shooter, and that's going to be the one we're going to grab. With any luck. Okay, so here is survival shooter. So you guys will hopefully see, if you've got Unity installed, there should be a download button, I think, right here for you. So if you don't have it downloaded, you can go ahead and click on there to download it. Does everybody see something like that there? Good, good. And let me know how long it's going to take to download, because I'm going to have to figure out if this is going to work for us or not. So two ways. You can either search for it right up top here. So you can, it's got a little search bar right up here. You can just type in survival shooter, and that should get you right to it. And well, it looks like a few people are working on that. If you got any questions, let me know. But the survival shooter is really cool because it's not just a free game that Unity puts out there. In game, it's kind of a level of a game, but also Unity does great kind of training. So they're not just putting this game out there and leaving it. They really kind of take you from beginning to end, and they use kind of some pre-built pieces, but really teach you a whole lot about the game design process by going all the way through kind of creating the survival shooter game. So definitely, if you want to learn more about Unity, this would be another really good place to start. They're going to they recorded it at a all-day session, so it was 8 in the morning to 8 at night kind of thing, and they broke it down into different sorts of tutorials for you, so you can, again, start right at the beginning, no experience necessary, and end up with a kind of a completed game. So a good way to kind of take a look at that. And, well, I think I'm stalling a little longer for us here. I'm going to go ahead and, okay, so I've got this already open here, I think. I already changed this version. Okay, so I guess I'll show you kind of the completed version of what we're going for a little here. And then, are people downloading? Is it 5% or 50 or?
It's like 25%.
Okay, all right, not too bad. All right, so here is our game. So kind of what I did on this game was the main character here, I dropped the main character out of the scene and kept the gun inside of there. And I added in a Google VR prefab here. All right, so we got cardboard main, and that's what kind of converts this whole thing into a virtual reality app for us. So we'll go ahead and take a look at hopefully where we're going to try and get to tonight.
What converts into VR?
The Google Cardboard VR. So we've got a prefab here. We'll go through the steps too. So we need to jump out and download one more thing. They've got a cardboard SDK, a cardboard software development kit. Oh man, I wasn't paying attention. So the SDK will help you to create software for Google Cardboard. And here's where we're going.
Is all Google Cardboard side by side? Or is that team top options? And I can't figure out who that goes for.
You said it's all side by side?
Yeah, all Google's side by side, right? Because I've seen top bottom, and I can't figure out who's using VR top bottom. It comes with the Oculus.
Rotate the phone.
Yeah, you got me there.
Yeah, they'll do that. Phones in the profile position, if you rotate it back, it goes to the...
Right, okay, yeah. So kind of by default, if people don't turn it off, VR is a brand new thing, so people don't realize that you really shouldn't be able to do VR kind of this way. But if you're using your phone, it'll kind of rotate this way for you anyways, unless you turn it off inside of Unity so that it's only going to kind of show up for you this way. So that could be what you're seeing, is just kind of that part not being kind of polished. What's that?
I'm sorry, I
All right.
Unity is my phone, iPhone, but it's wrong. You didn't make your phone do it inside.
No. This is part of the Oculus runtime. The Oculus has movies that run top bottom, but I could never. Your eyes don't go top bottom. And I couldn't figure out what format the Oculus movies 3D virtual system would run on. So it should all be side by side, which is what Google standardizes on. But there's a whole VR format that's top bottom, and I wasn't sure if maybe that's for like Samsung TVs or something that's totally different than stereoscopic, but I couldn't figure it out. But it's a total format in the Oculus.
Is it really? Okay.
So I don't know. I was just curious if this was Unity. I assumed it was side by side, and I just wanted to see if it was a standardized for Google too. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't looked into the Oculus SDK too much, so can't talk to that one directly, but yeah, that's confusing me too. That I'm trying to figure
I
out.
was just like, nothing she really tapped on.
All right.
It defaults to it, so that's why I wasn't sure.
Well, okay.
Sorry.
Yep, that is a weird one. Yep.
I have a question.
Mhm.
And most times I see in virtual reality, the camera's always rotating outward, but is there a way to actually make the camera rotate like inward, like around a certain object?
There is, yep, so that's a good question. We'll take a quick look. So let's see here, Sketchfab. Let's see if we can get that open here.
The reason you don't see that very often is because it can induce motion sickness. You mean like if you turn your head, it'll instead be rotating the camera around something?
Well,
Focused on it?
I'm actually trying to get like an animation, a VR animation. So for certain scenes, it could actually be more better to have the camera focus around a certain object than it would be to focus outward the entire environment.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yep, so let's see here.
When explore territory, making a movie for VR is like you have to find a way to make a person look somewhere or just force them to look there.
I mean, it's easy to do. All you gotta remember is that the human eye pays attention to A, moving objects, or B, objects that are brighter, or B, objects that are surprisingly out of. I'll put this. You have a red object in environment blue. I don't know the word for that. So
High contrast.
Contrast, that's what I'm looking for. So it's either contrast, moving, or brighter.
Makes sense.
Yep, the one part that's kind of tricky there is that we've only got about a 100-degree field of view, so if something's behind you another 260 degrees, then you kind of got to figure out how to make them turn around and see that part. So it's a little tricky, but
Well, we can actually
Definitely
put the
something
sound there, right?
that's one great way to do it is with the sound. Yep, definitely.
It's also a good way to actually put in some Easter eggs, rather than have to be like a two-dimensional area. It can actually be like a three-dimensional area, and then basically you can have like a bit of a podcast and be like, oh, you see everything over there? We got to turn your head that way. I think one of the greatest practice to do a VR that I'm learning right now is that you got to look at regular life. It's so weird looking at regular life right now because I'm actually training myself to do it as I would do for animation, just not like it's real life. Now I look like either an A, an asshole, or a B, a weirdo, just for comparing real life to VR, which is great and weird.
Great. Yep. So Sketchfab lets you upload your 3D models onto here. So if you're a 3D modeler, then you can send your model up here. And I can't preview it on here because it wants us to use a phone to view this. But Sketchfab is set up with Google or a cardboard-like kind of viewing setup, where it's going to allow you to kind of turn around and it's going to give you that kind of effect that you're looking for with.
Sketchfab?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's close. I was trying to focus how I could put that, like, one scene to focus on around a certain object, and then the rest of the scenes would be like outward or switches.
Yeah, so that might go a little outside of our talk tonight, but I'd definitely kind of check out Sketchfab as a starter for you, and that'll give you the inside view at least. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yep, no problem. All right.
I like that fire experience shirt.
Right, isn't it? Yeah. So how are we doing now on our survival shooter download?
Done by now, right?
How close? Nowhere near?
I'm still downloading the UNC.
You should this in the student center because the Wi-Fi there is like super fast. Like that. There, got it. Perfect.
Okay.
Is it sketchfab.io or sketchfab.com?
Sketchfab.com. How about you guys? How close are you over to downloading? You're good already?
I think it's
Okay.
Are you guys using Google Chrome to download? Yeah. Oh wow. Wow, that is wow.
Okay, so yep, we got one more thing to download. It's a much smaller one, so I guess we'll go ahead and grab that now, and then we'll be set to go finally. So let's see, Google Cardboard SDK. if we, our Cardboard SDK Unity. So yep, for me it's this top link right here. So it's developers.google.com/VR/Unity. And we're going to go ahead and jump over to there. And from here we're going to go, so we're underneath the Unity SDK, we're going to go to the download and samples page. And we'll go ahead and agree. And we got a couple of choices here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to download the VR SDK for Unity. So you can see right at the bottom down here in blue, they have you can also download the repo directly. So I think we're going to go ahead and click on there to get it directly. It looks huge. I could have sworn this was a much smaller file. So we'll go ahead and wait a little while. Yeah, it's 20 minutes. We'll see. Yep, so just to tell you a little more about this site here while I'm trying to stall for time a little more still. They make a couple things available on this site. So you've got the Cardboard SDK, which contains everything that you kind of need to build up your VR app inside of Unity. And then they also have the Cardboard VR SDK samples for Unity, where they put a couple of different projects inside of there that you can get a chance to create yourself, or I'm sorry, that are already kind of created for you. They're set to go, and then you can do some of that kind of reverse engineering stuff we were talking about, where you can kind of look at this completed app and see how you can kind of put it back together from there. So they recently updated the SDK for Unity, and it looks like they may have done the same thing with both of these. But now, instead of it just being for Google Cardboard, the newest thing from Google that they're coming out with, in the process of coming out with, is, what's the name of it? I can't think right now. The Cardboard Daydream. I'm not sure where it is on here, but Daydream. Okay, right in here. So the controller demo is an app for Daydream. So Google recently announced at their I/O conference about a month or so ago that they're offering the specs, I think. So I'm still not exactly sure if it's just a spec thing. If anybody knows for sure, they can let me know. But I think they're allowing other people to make these Daydream devices, make them compatible with different phones, and then they might also be making them themselves too. So it kind of takes VR to another level. So, this is kind of definitely the starter pack right here, right? You can get these for definitely $20 and even like $250 in bulk if you get onto Alibaba.com or something like that. So really cheap to kind of get started. And they moved a little bit away from the Cardboard, even though they're still pushing the expeditions and everything else, because they're kind of wanting to take things to the next level a little bit more. So they're also getting into the Daydream stuff. So with the Daydream, you've got a better resolution that you can see with the VR devices, and it also comes with a controller. So the controller, let's see if we can show you guys real quick what that looks like. A little slow here. So here's a picture of the controller. So it's a small little handheld device. So it's still not on the level of the $800 devices where you've got a whole lot of different controls kind of built into one thing here. But you can do some pretty cool things even with the one-hand controls that they have kind of built on here. So you can see they're making pancakes and kind of flipping them in the pan over here, and fishing, and all sorts of different cool applications just by having this one little kind of small controller in your hand. So definitely Google puts out great stuff for VR too, so I encourage you guys to get out there and check that stuff out. As far as they put out a number of different things that kind of describe the rules of VR, what they've kind of figured out in VR, how you should kind of set up your menus inside of a VR space, what works and what doesn't work inside of a VR space. So they're doing experiments. So kind of the way that these experiments go, that we see in the pictures down here, Google will take about 2 or 3 days and develop an app and take it as far as they can in those 2 or 3 days. So they get an idea, they develop a really rough app around that idea, and then they test it out and see if it actually works or not. So they came up with some weird stuff that they didn't think would work and it ended up working, and then came up with some other stuff that they thought would work great and didn't work. So really you need to kind of try VR and experience it. It's really hard to kind of guess about what this technology is going to be like, or if it's going to work or not. I always kind of laugh a little bit about people that have a place a judgment on VR before they've ever tried a VR device, and they say, "Oh, that's never going to work. That's 3D TV," and you need to experience it to be able to kind of judge it fairly. So yep, here's our kind of the Daydream device here, and then they've got the controller over here too. So that is why they made it a lot bigger. What was that? Question? Yep. Where's that one? Here. Oh, okay. Yep. So we got a old dragon on here and all sorts of different stuff. And they actually, I think they made this menu kind of system available for people to use too. So it took them a little while to figure out that really kind of having a flat menu out here doesn't really make the best use of the 3D space. So making a curved menu kind of interface really takes you into that menu a little bit more, and it makes better use of the space that you have available. What's that with the kind of bending thing? Yeah. So I think that's going to be a big trend that we see nowadays too, because it just kind of makes sense. Is it still? Okay, you're right. Mm-hmm.
Actually, but the Steam interface that pops up when you're in the Vive actually is flat in the world, which is strange to me. I don't know why they made this virtual desktop has a curved interface, and I'm pretty sure like some Vive stuff does, but we need to work on that. It's a good idea.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and like I said, it's still even these guys here, that have all the money and everything, are still kind of figuring out the rules too. So test stuff out, see if it works, see what you can do and what you can't do. But then also, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So learn a little bit from Google and then kind of go off on your own and see what you can do. Any other questions right now, or are everybody doing okay?
I have a question.
Yep.
Does this new Daydream device have extra sensors on the device itself, like for motion tracking?
Yes. Yep. So it's made for your phone, and there's only certain phones that it'll work with right now. So that there might be one out in the market. I can't remember if one's actually out yet. So it'll use the gyroscope and everything that's in your phone to give you those kind of details, and then it's also got controls to figure out where you're holding your hand or kind of when you're pushing the button on the controller too. So it gives you a little bit of everything.
So it's not part of the Google App Store yet, or is it like a separate app that you would download to run, like if you have a phone that's capable of it? Do you know?
I don't think that it's officially out yet.
Okay.
They do have something that is out there. There's one phone that you can use to develop with the Daydream, and this is month-old information, so it could have already changed by now. But there's one phone that you can get. I can't remember which one it is offhand, but this phone will take the place of the controller. So the controller's not out yet. They've got like a little cardboard kind of thing that you can put over the top of here, so it'll kind of mimic the look of the controller for you. So everything that you can do with this controller, you'll be able to do with the device when it comes out. So jump in early, get the phone if you're up for a phone sometime soon. Check out what it is that you need, and you'll be one of the few people that's kind of in there early and kind of developing for this Daydream version of VR that's out there. Yeah. So here's a little picture of the thing that you can put over your phone. So I guess, and this one's a little plastic device, and it mimics what's going to happen with the controller. Okay, was there any other questions, or everybody in good shape? Still got 20 minutes.
So there's no VR headsets that have the screen, you always have to use your phone.
So let's see here. The
Oculus, that's just the version.
The Oculus is on the screen, not
Yeah.
having a phone. That's what we have.
No, I have the Samsung Oculus here, which uses the phone and you plug it into your headset. But Oculus makes it needs to be a
The HoloLens
Yeah,
does.
it just has the screen built into the headset. That's
But
it.
it also still needs the graphics card.
The HoloLens is independent, it doesn't need a
Headset,
computer.
which will be 600 for the 800 for the 5, and then it's probably $1,000 for the but it's NVIDIA just released a crazy new graphics cards,
Yeah.
the 1070 and the 1080, which are super cheap for the pixels that they push. So I feel like it won't be long before we have. Apple doesn't support any VR right now, unfortunately. So you can't do any VR. You could do cartwheel.
Other than HoloLens, you can do it with a Mac.
The
HoloLens.
HoloLens is $3,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but that's self-contained, so it doesn't come process.
Right. And you don't need controllers, and you can control air tapping and gauge and all that.
But the FOV is tiny. It's difficult to use. I got to try it with
Oh, did you? Okay, nice.
It's just like tiny little.
Right. So we're kind of at level 1 right now in the VR and AR space, so everything's going to get better. You know, it's great to invest right now, but then you're going to be mad in a couple of months because there'll be something coming out better that's got a better field of view and better graphics. So, you know, all depends on when you want to kind of jump in. It's nice that it's different levels. If you don't want to get the computer right now and get the HTC Vive, which will be maybe $1,500 neighborhood, you can get something for, you know, like I said, $10 and already kind of get started on doing some VR stuff and convince yourself that it's worth the $1,500 investment after that, hopefully.
I heard the consoles were also starting to get into VR on E3.
Correct. Yep. So we just had the.
Is it just Sony or Xbox?
Everybody's going to be the kind of the most information right now is coming from Sony. So they're going to be the first ones to market, and they just announced when at E3. I want to say it's coming in the spring, summer, in the fall, and it's interesting. So, right, of the top level devices, this is really kind of my least favorite, and I hope this one doesn't make it, because it can't do everything the other ones can do. It's got these stupid Move controllers that are from like 2010, you know, that don't offer the kind of exactness that you get with the other devices. You're running it off of a $300, you know, game machines instead of running it off of a updated computer that's got all the latest graphic cards. So to me, you know, I hope that things don't go in that direction. It's not bad because, you know, you can get VR for pretty cheap and get in there and start doing some things, but it's not going to give you everything that those kind of top-of-the-line devices are. They're pretty sweet, and they got pretty good reviews, so yeah, and I was... Oh, sleek, you said? Right, sleek-looking, yes. Yep, they are. And some of the games were getting good reviews out of the E3 stuff, too, so there might be some viability to... What's that? Nausea related? Okay, yeah. One more time, you said?
Jessica Condon, I was a big artist about how she's never been out of VR before and then tried to play like a new Resident Evil demo for PSVR. It's sick for like half an hour. So a ton of people who, you know, had never had trouble with VR not before getting super sick on PSVR stuff.
I hope so. Yep, so those are kind of the bigger players. I think we heard most of the big names out here already. So that is that. All right, so I think we're going to go ahead and jump into things here. Luckily, it's being recorded, so if people haven't got a chance to kind of finish downloading everything, you can go home and watch all this great stuff again in a couple days. No problem. So we are going to go ahead and open up Unity. So, all right, so just to finish the demo, we'll give it about 30 more seconds here. So we'll see if I can kill one bad guy. So you can kind of tour around the 3D space. So, yeah, I guess we don't need the music really. So what they're doing here is that inside of Unity, you're able to, without having to download it onto your phone or to an Oculus or someplace else, they let you mimic what it would be like to actually kind of be inside of here and to turn your head around. So the way that you can control that is with our Alt key. So when you hold down the Alt key and you're moving your mouse around, that allows you to kind of change directions and hopefully blow up the bad guys. So they got me again. All right, so we'll get into some of the details and kind of how we put that together too. So since we all want to start from the same place, I'm going to go ahead and make a new project inside of Unity. All right, so I'm going to call this one VR Hacker Nights. And mine's just going to my desktop right now. I'm just going to go ahead and put it right on there. So you can see you can do 3D or 2D applications, and they're really pretty much the same thing. You can switch this later on inside of Unity if you want to, but we're going to stick with 3D for our VR stuff. All right, so we'll go ahead and click on Create Project. All right, so here we are inside of Unity. And package. Let's see, so we're going to jump over to our asset store, so we can go to Window and choose Asset Store. Any luck? Come on, Asset Store. Try that one more time. Window Asset Store. And if you've already downloaded the asset, then you should have a button right up top here. So we've got our, what's this button called? Toggle Download Manager. So we can jump over to our downloaded files. So here's the button right up top here. So these are all the different packages and assets that I've downloaded from Unity over a long time. So we're going to want to bring a couple of things in here, right? So we're going to go ahead and bring in our Google Cardboard. So I think I'm just going to search up top since I have so much stuff here. Let's see if it'll let me. So I'll search for Cardboard with any luck. Oh, really? Uh-oh. Okay, you might be right. Yep. Yeah, I guess since we don't buy that from the asset store, so that's why it's kind of stuck on the outside there. Yep. So let's see here. What's the other one? The survival shooter, I guess, is what we want to bring in right here. All right. So there's our survival shooter, and I'm going to go ahead and import this. So it's bringing all the stuff into our file. All right, so just to take a quick look through a few of these things here. The animation, so we've got animation side of the game. That's coming all from this top folder up here. We've got scripts, so anything that ends in a .cs is for C#. So we've got a number of different C# scripts in here. So you can see we've got one that kind of gives you the joystick control. We've got some stuff that allows for mobile input. So again, a lot of these things are already kind of built for you. Even if you're not making this game here, but you want to have some mobile input controls, this wouldn't be a bad place to kind of start. You could kind of jump in here, take a look at the script that's already kind of built for that and then adjust it as you need to. And what else? We got some different effects down here. Some shaders that kind of control the look of how our graphics are going to look inside of the 3D space. We've got a scene that we're going to start from here. And again, some more scripts for our audio and enemy attacks and enemy health, things like that. We'll take a little look at that pretty quickly. And coming on down, we've got audio, so all of our different audio effects, all the different sounds that things make when they get shot, when they die, all that kind of stuff's already included for us here. Different kind of background sound effects and the music for the game is all included there. And I wasn't trying to do that. Here we go. Yep, and finally we got a bunch of different 3D models, which are all brought in the FBX format, which is the preferred format for 3D files inside of Unity.
Why is it the preferred file?
It's open, so it's not a 3D Max file, it's not a Maya file, but all those can export to the FBX format. So it's got all the good data in there, and it doesn't worry about any of the proprietary stuff.
Okay.
And we've got a bunch of different textures down here. So the textures are what's applied to our 3D models to give it kind of that finished graphic look to it.
You can still just import stuff from 3ds Max into your. Okay.
You sure can, yep. So you can actually bring in 3D Max files inside of here, but it's not a good idea to if you're going to be sharing it with other people. So if I had 3D Max installed on here, I could bring in a 3D Max file, but then if I toss it off to you and you don't have 3D Max on your computer, you're not going to be able to use this Unity project. So that's why it's best to use the FBX format, but you can get that from even Blender, the free 3D application will let you export to FBX files. And SketchUp too, yep, thank you. Yep, so we got all our different graphics and some different assets listed down at the bottom here. So we'll go ahead and click on import and bring all that good stuff inside.
What is the
Deprecated?
deprecated? Yeah.
Right, so they've got a new version of the survival shooter and an older version, so the deprecated one isn't really used anymore. So I had that from last year sometime, but when they upgraded to Unity 5, then they kind of changed stuff around a little bit, so they gave you a new file. So we'll give it a few minutes here to bring all that good stuff inside of there. This is the survival shooter. Yep. So I didn't even realize this, but I got an intern that just started working for me, and I was showing him this game, and he said that he hates this music because everybody uses this music, which kind of makes sense because it's out there, it's free, it's decent sounding music, but it gets used in a lot of independent productions because it's out there and it's free. So I don't know, has anybody seen this music around in any other games at all?
I haven't even listened to the music yet.
You didn't hear it? Okay. All right. We'll play it in a minute.
I'm pretty sure if I hear it, though, I'm going to understand his hatred.
Right. And are we there? Okay, we're there on that part. And now we're going to import one package. So we've got our complete Unity project already inside of here. And now the last thing that we want to bring in is our Google software development package. So to do that, we're going to come back up top here. We're going to go to Import Package and choose Custom Package. And it should be in your Downloads folder if you were able to download it off the internet. And you can see here, this one's only 20, that's what I don't understand. This one's 21 megs, and the one we're grabbing from the internet was about 2,000 megs. But anyways, all right, so here's our Cardboard SDK package. This is the one that we want. And I'm going to go ahead and click on Open. And you can see we get a whole lot more stuff here, right? So they're making it really easy for us. We don't have to do any of this kind of hard work ourselves and kind of figuring out where these eyes should go and how far away stuff should go from the camera, how stuff should get activated, how even our menus should be set up. All that kind of stuff is already done for you, and we can just kind of work from that and build from that and change it if we need to. Very nice. All right, so we'll go ahead and click on Import. And
Importing small assets, scripts, and SDK bundle.
Yeah, all sorts of great stuff.
I'm excited.
And we're really about halfway done right now. So hard to believe we haven't really done too much yet, but download some stuff and bring it in. But really that's going to give us kind of a starting ground that we can kind of build a VR application from. So how many people are brand new to Unity that are trying to go through right now?
Kind of brand new, did it like once or twice.
Okay. You said what? Likewise, okay. Okay, so I'll just give a quick kind of overview of the interface here, and then we'll jump into putting the stuff together. So let's see here. Your windows might look a little different than mine. We've got different setups for kind of the layouts that we can use right up here at the top. So let's see, I guess I'll go with the default since you guys are probably on default right now. You can see I got a couple of custom ones that I set up inside of here for different projects where I can just kind of have the windows be where I want to. And yeah, this is kind of ugly. I haven't used this one in a while. But just to keep us all on the same page, I guess we'll stick with this one. And we can always kind of drag these tabs around and redesign them and set things up inside of Unity to make it just the way that we want it to. All right, so one thing I'm going to do here, I don't like looking at this one as a big folder list. I like seeing the kind of small icons. So I'm going to click on this little slider over here on the bottom right of that window. And if we drag that all the way over to the left, it's going to turn into a list for us. And now it's time to find our scene with any luck. So inside of our completed assets folder, we've got a folder called scenes. Okay, so you can see completed assets right at the top of our menu here. We're going to twirl to open this triangle here for our scenes, and then we'll select the level 1.5. Is that right? There we go. We'll select our scenes folder. So let's see here. So anything that's inside of our folder on our computer. So I've got a folder right on my desktop that has all these different files that are inside of it. So it lets us see all those files when we're inside of Unity and see what's included in our project. If I import something, it's going to pop up inside of that folder too, and we're going to have access to it right here. What else is going on here? So we've got our hierarchy. Things that are actually part of our project are right up here on the top left-hand side. So right now you can see by default it gives us one camera and one light inside of our project. Besides that, it's up to you on what you want to kind of add to your project. And really in our case, we're going to probably get rid of at least the camera and maybe probably the light too. And we'll start from scratch. Next we have our scene area over here in the middle of our screen. So we can drag any assets that we want to from down here and drop them up into our scene. And that's going to create our game level for us. We can also drag assets from down here. This is what I do more often. We can drag them from here and drag them up into our hierarchy. And what that's going to do different is when you drop some 3D assets into your scene, it's really hard to tell kind of where in 3D space you're putting your assets. But if you drop them inside your hierarchy, they automatically get dropped at 0, 0, 0. So they'll get dropped right in the origin for you and let you kind of figure out where you kind of want to move stuff to after that. And finally, we've got our inspector window over here, which is really boring right now because we don't have anything selected. But if we select something, whatever we have selected, the inspector window is going to give us some details on what that game object is and what we can do to that game object. So every single thing that we can bring inside of Unity is defined as a game object. We've got cameras and lights and audio and graphics and 3D stuff. So all those are different game objects that we can add different elements to inside of our inspector to make it do different things. Do you guys have a question, or you okay?
Oh, no, I'm not getting caught up.
Oh, perfect. Thanks. Okay, so we got that going there. Everybody good so far? Good, good. Okay, so next step is we're going to go ahead and just open our scene. So to open a scene, I guess is the one part that's going to be a little different. We don't need to drag this up here because this is one scene that we're looking at right now that just has the camera and the light in it. We're just going to double click on this level 1.5 right here. And with any luck, that's going to open up a brand new scene for us. So we got a lot of action going on. So we don't have to worry about kind of creating these Legos and the spinning top. So unfortunately, we can't be here all night. So we get to kind of use that pre-built stuff to bring everything together.
I appreciate you learning everything. You know, I mean, I'm so much a beginner when it comes to learning how to create VR. So thank you.
Good. Yeah, no problem. Yep. Yeah, and that's one of the great things too. It's good to come to these and talk to people, but there's so many resources out there. Hopefully this will kind of jumpstart you here, and then you can go home and check out on your computer. Like I said, Unity, all these different Google, everybody's putting out great stuff to kind of help you to be a better VR developer. Even the people that are making these devices. So like the HTC Vive just started, I think it's $100 million fund for people to develop for VR, because they know that for VR to be successful, it's not just about the device, but you got to have great apps for it. So they're trying to encourage people as much as possible to get into this stuff and to make it as easy as possible and to give you some financial incentives to do it too. So, good stuff. All right, so we got our new project open. So when I open that project, you can see that my hierarchy up here on the top left completely changed, right? So now we've got a floor, we've got a camera, we've got our environment, which has a whole bunch of stuff hiding underneath this triangle right here that we can open up if we want to. So we can see that we've got our blocks and our dollhouse and our spinning top. All that kind of stuff is categorized inside of our environment space here. And some other things. So we've got a spawn point for our Zombunnies and our Zombears and our Helephant. So we've got 3 different kind of bad guys here that'll come and attack you. And we have to tell Unity where those bad guys should come from. And that is a spawn point. So you can see my spawn points only have a transform component over here on the right-hand side of the screen. So the only thing that defines the spawn point is where it's at inside of a 3D space, right? So this one right here is at 0032. So wherever that 0032 is, and, messed up. So there. So right there, coming up from underneath. So here's 0032 all the way in the corner. This is going to be the spawn point for my Helephant creature. Okay, so anytime that a Helephant is created, it's going to be created from this one location right here, and then it's got the coding on there that tells it to find where the character is at and come and attack the character. So we've got different spawn points. So yeah, just real quick, we'll frame in on this other one. So there's one spawn point, and our last one for our bears is over here. So our bears come out of this little kind of mouse hole. All right. Next up is our player, and we'll take just a real quick look at him because we're going to get rid of our player. We don't need a player because we are the player inside of a 3D space, right? We've got our heads-up display canvas. So this is going to be where our game over text, our scoring text that appears at the top of the screen, and the damage image, which I think in this case is it's kind of a red image that comes over the screen. So when you get hit, you'll be able to turn red for a second and you'll know you got hit, and then it'll kind of fade away, which I'm sure most of us have seen in video games before. We've got our background music, which is, again, just another game element. So this one has our transform, and it has an audio source on here. So again, just a game object, and the audio source is telling it to play our background music. It's telling it to play on awake. So as soon as we start our game, this music is going to start playing. And it's going to tell it to loop too. So once we get to the end of the sound, what happens? We want to come back into the beginning. And that's all set up for us right there. We've got our menu canvas that we'll skip over right now. So that's just our pause button. And finally, we've got our lighting down here. And we'll just leave our lighting alone too. You can see we've got 2 or 3 lights that are kind of set up inside of here for us. Or light probes that got set up too. So outside of our focus. All right, so we're getting close. Next up, we've got our cardboard folder down here. And we're going to use a cardboard prefab to create this from. So just to do a quick little tour around here, and I'm going to try and cut this to at the most under 15 or 20 minutes, and then we can do some more stuff if you guys want to. So inside of cardboard here, you can see we've got, it looks like some sort of script we've got here. We've got some editor things. So this is going to change how Unity is set up inside of here. So now I've got, you can see right up at the top here, I've got a cardboard menu. And that was just created by writing a couple of scripts. So somebody at Google wrote a couple of scripts, and they're pretty easy to write. And that allows you to change the whole Unity interface and add menus at the top, or we can add things to the sidebar. You can really customize stuff out as much as you want to. So what these are doing here is, or what a lot of these are doing here, is kind of setting that up for us and giving us these kind of controls. or we can just kind of click on a drop-down menu and get some good stuff. So we've got all those different pieces. We got individual scripts here, but what the prefabs are pre-built kind of things that have a lot of stuff already inside of them. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use the cardboard main, and we can see that the cardboard main contains two things underneath it. It's got a head prefab and it's got a stereo render prefab. So it's got a couple of nested prefabs inside of here. So it's a little confusing, but really what it means is that you just need this one thing right here to drop into your scene, and you've pretty much almost converted it into a virtual reality scene. So that's what we're going to go ahead and use. So I'm going to grab our cardboard main.
Run to Google VR. Is anybody else?
What's that?
It's Google VR now.
Google.
Instead of cardboard.
Oh, is it? Okay. Okay, yeah.
I downloaded it. I don't know if anybody else has that too.
Yep. Yeah, you probably do. Yeah. So I didn't download it in the last one.
I just want to make sure it was in the right spot.
Yeah. Yep. So I think it's going to work exactly the same for us. I hope. If you got any problems, let me know. So it might have some more functionality. So if you see anything that says Daydream, stay away from that. But Google VR should be just fine. Okay.
Stay away from what?
Anything that says Daydream, just because it's going to require the Daydream devices to kind of run it. So, and we.
I said they don't exist yet.
Right.
It's all vaporware.
Exactly. All right, so here we go. We got our cardboard main, and I'm going to drop that right into our scene. And since I dropped it right here, remember inside of the hierarchy, it automatically put it in the perfect spot into our movie or our scene here for us, right? So it put it right on top of our player character, which is right at 000 also. So if I were to take that and drag it over here and try and put it in the scene, then I'm going to have to kind of relocate stuff and drag it around and make sure that I'm kind of dropping in the right spot here. So that is going to get us close. So let's open up the cardboard here, so you can see you can open up the cardboard for you guys. You said it's Google VR now? GVR main. Okay. And you should see a head and a stereo render underneath there. And I'm just going to go ahead and scroll open all of these right here so we can see everything that we've got. So let's see here. The stereo render stuff I'm going to leave alone for the moment. Yeah, again, outside of our scope a little bit for our time. But our two main cameras we can see right here. So it's a little hard to see on my screen up here, but you can see we've got a main camera left and a main camera right. So that's going to be main camera left and main camera right inside of our device here. That's what's going to feed it into those two different sides for us. And we've got a main camera parent up here too that kind of tells which side where to go. However, one issue that we have here is that we still have a main camera inside of our scene.
What do you mean a main camera inside of our scene?
Yep, so it should be all the way up kind of in your menu here. You've got something called main camera. Do you see that?
Very, very much beginner, so I'm so sorry.
No, that's fine. Did you get it open up? Is this your hierarchy?
Oh, we got it. We started playing around a bit and then.
Oh, I can't help you start playing around. All right, so if you scroll up to the top of that hierarchy. So I'm going to do a little preview right now just to show you what's kind of going on with our two cameras inside of here, but what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the main camera. So to preview kind of your game in action, all we got to do is come up to the top here and press play. Let me see, I already got it muted. Yeah, nice. Okay, so what's going on here is that we're not only seeing what's going on through kind of our two little spherical sort of shapes here, but we're also seeing, instead of seeing black in the background back here, we're seeing what the other camera's seeing there. Okay? So we're taxing our system a lot more than it needs to and kind of confusing stuff because all that stuff's going to get cut off inside of our VR space anyways. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to get rid of that main camera so that we're just using our cardboard camera.
We got this going on. We actually got him on the outside. So you guys show something you guys know how to do it.
You guys get the cardboard SDK? Okay, so you got to did you start the download, or?
Oh, you can't go to Google, right? actually, the reason why I took this so long is because everyone else is downloading the same file at the same time. So, and everyone's done, we can try to get it all back. Yeah.
Okay. Works for me. All right, so here we go. We're going to go ahead and get rid of our main camera now. So that one is gone. So now I'm going to preview my movie again here. And now we can see that we've got black on the outside there, right? So we're not seeing what's kind of coming from the other camera anymore. Now we're just seeing kind of the part that we want to see. And we're...
Delete the main camera.
What's that?
Just delete the player in the main camera.
So don't delete the player yet. Hopefully you didn't do that yet, did you? No. Okay. So, right, the main camera, and we might even... So it was the main camera that was all the way at the top here. So it was floor and then main camera. That's the one that you want to get rid of.
First level of the hierarchy.
Thank you. Yep, exactly. So there's two things called main camera. We don't want to get rid of this one down here that we just brought in, because that is the one that we want to hang on to. So what else do we want to do here? We've got our preview down here. So really we're already kind of set up inside of our 3D space, but we're sitting right inside of those wooden floor panels right now, which is not really a good place for our character to be. So all I need to do is kind of bring our character up here a little bit so that he's going to have a better kind of view of the world around him and he's not going to be permanently encased in wood. So we've got our move controls. You should already be on your move. If you're not, you got our move control right up top here. I'm going to select my main camera here. And then I'm going to come onto my green arrow and drag it up just a little bit. So hopefully, while you're dragging up, you can see in your camera preview right here where your character is located at, so you can tell if you're going to be outside of that space or not. And we're in a pretty good location right now. So we'll preview again. Any questions right now that I can answer for anybody? Was that a question or no? You guys okay? Okay, good. Okay, so let's hear. So we made it out of the ground. So we'll go ahead and preview now and see kind of the change that we made there. Again, if you want to be able to kind of mimic the head turning here, if you hold down your Alt key and you drag your mouse around, that's going to allow you to kind of turn your head. So these guys are way too big for me. I should be a little taller, so I'm going to kind of pull myself up a little more here. Okay, so I'm going to stop the game and come back to our main camera and come up a little bit higher. So is that going to be right? Yep, there we go. All right, so now we're looking good. We're at kind of a good level of height for our person here. But we got some kind of crazy things that are happening right by the camera, right?
Yeah. Oh.
You got kind of this little guy with his hat on that you can kind of halfway see through.
Reminds me of the N64 days.
That's messing up or something? Right, yeah. Yep, exactly. And then also you got his gun over there, but his gun's kind of getting cut off a little bit. We want to hang on to the gun because we want our VR person to be able to have that gun inside of 3D space, but we want to get rid of our character. So let's go ahead and do that.
Is there a way that says the coordinates so he's on the plane?
So he's resting on the plane and not over it.
With the spirits like
Right. So you can move them around manually. Yep. Inside of our inspector over here, we can also adjust stuff. So so these are in meters over here. So if you knew you wanted your character up 1 meter, then you can just come over to the y-axis and type in 1 over here, and that'll kind of move them up to whatever height it is you want to have them on. If you move up a little too high, and in this case it's going to be okay because as soon as the game starts, he's just going to drop down to the ground, and the character and the ground both kind of understand physics, so they understand they're not supposed to move in between each other, so it'll just kind of stay right there for you in place. Okay. So where are we at? Okay, so we want to get rid of our character, but not our gun. So we've got our player right here in our hierarchy. We're going to twirl that open, and we can see that inside the player we got 3 different things that are kind of working inside of here. So just to give a little description of what's going on real quick, and I can really talk about Unity all night, so I'll try not to keep us here past bedtime. But we've got our player, we've got our gun, and we've got our gun barrel end. So the player, we don't need anymore at all. We're just going to go ahead and select this sub-player. So you don't want to get rid of the main player because we're going to hang on to the gun. But the player that's right underneath that player is the one I'm just going to go ahead and click delete on right now to get rid of. So it says we're breaking a connection. Are we sure we want to do this? And we're pretty sure. So we'll go ahead and say continue. And now, the only thing on my player is the gun and the gun barrel end. So the reason why we define our gun barrel end there is because there's an effect that's built onto there with our little kind of muzzle flash, right, that goes off the end of our gun. So we have to tell Unity where that muzzle flash should be generated at. So this is probably, it's got our particle system on here, and then it's got a space that's set up a certain amount, so it's going to be right on the tip of that gun, so the particles are going to kind of shoot off and give you that gun effect whenever you press the button in this case. All right, and we have our gun right here also. So I'm going to click on the gun here in my hierarchy, and then if I come over my scene window and I press F, it's going to do a decent job of kind of framing it for me. So F is for frame. It's a little tough to kind of see it. So one kind of control that we can use to kind of get around in our 3D space here is if we hold down the Alt button, just like inside of our VR space, we can hold down the Alt button to tour around stuff here a little here. And now we can get a better look at our gun that's kind of sitting right here for us. So just a couple of adjustments we're going to make for the gun. We're going to move it over and maybe up a little bit. And you can put it wherever you want to, and for your taste. Maybe you want to have it at the bottom where you can see a little bit of coming up off the top. However you want to kind of arrange that. Let's see here. I'm just going to drag over to the right a little bit here on the one axis. And then I'm going to drag it up a little bit also. And we'll see how we did there. Yep.
How do you integrate the VR into the Unity? You just download the software, the gun.
Correct. Yep. Once you got the cardboard downloaded, you're going to import an asset package. So you can come over to import package, and then you're going to choose the cardboard SDK that should be in your downloads folder.
I've seen a time download folder. I just got to find. Okay. What top menu do we find input package from? Is it file or
Assets.
assets?
Yep. You want to go to Assets, Import Package, and choose the custom package. Okay. And, okay, so I got my gun in here. And let's see. So my gun's not in a very good spot here. Well, maybe it is. We'll see. Okay, so I'm going to play my scene again. I think my gun's going to be a little too far back. I'm going to go ahead and push it up a little bit more, too. So let's see. I'll come over to my hierarchy here and select my gun, and then I'm going to move it forward a little bit on our red axis here and see how that does for us. So once again, we'll kind of preview here. And I can just barely see the tip of my gun. You can see it's kind of sticking down at the bottom there. So I need to move it forward a lot more. So one other kind of caveat for making changes and doing things inside of Unity, when we're in play mode right here, any changes that I make inside of play mode are not going to be recorded. So it's not going to be part of my game. It's kind of like a testing area here. So when we get a value that we actually want to use, we have to copy that back out into Unity. So we're going to grab our gun and see if we can kind of come over here and adjust our numbers at all. Oh. And I can't find my gun right now. Okay, so I'm going to adjust a little more here and hope I got lucky. Let's see here. So our camera is facing that way. And then our gun, I think I'm going to try and move it out a little more here. So we might not get this perfect right now. I don't want to spend too much time up here tweaking. As long as we can kind of see the gun, then you guys can kind of tweak later and make sure that you're getting it at the right location. I got to get a little closer than that. So let's see, maybe if we take our player and move the whole player up. Okay, so now we got kind of our gun sticking down there off the bottom a little bit. And we can fire pretty messily. Okay, so it's close there. We could spend some more time tweaking. Maybe if people want to, we can tweak it a little more at the end. I'm going to kind of keep it just at its present location there and see if we can shoot a bad guy. So I'm going to go ahead and start back up our game again.
I have a question before we start doing that. How do we just download the VR? How do we get it into
The cardboard main.
No, we try and get to the view.
What's that?
We already have it imported. We're trying to get to the view.
To
Like the exact same perspective you have. We're trying to get to your perspective. We just downloaded the VR package. We imported
okay.
it there.
So you imported it. Did you drag it up into your hierarchy yet?
Okay, let me do that.
So there should be a prefab folder inside your cardboard folder.
It should be a what?
A prefab folder inside the cardboard folder.
Yeah.
And that's going to have the cardboard main in it.
Okay.
And the cardboard main is going to be what you're going to drag up into your main scene.
Can you say that one more time?
The prefab folder inside of the cardboard folder.
Oh, I see it.
Yep, there we go. And then cardboard main. You're going to drag that into your hierarchy.
So I'm going to drag the prefab into the hierarchy.
The cardboard main prefab into the hierarchy, yes. Or, I'm sorry, what is it again?
Google VR.
The Google VR main, right?
So I
Okay.
drag the entire Google VR into the.
Correct.
Okay, so
The inside the prefab folder. Are you inside the prefab?
So we can take this. Okay. Drag this up into here. This at the bottom?
Yeah.
Now we have. Okay, I just gotta change the perspective. Okay, hands up there.
The one that gave us the game card? Okay, yeah. Survival Shooter is the name of it. Oh, for the right. So if we Google cardboard, no, it's fine. If we Google Google Cardboard SDK, then it should be the first link that comes up for you there. And we'll go to that link. And then from there, you can go to the downloads and samples. And that's got a link. It says you can also download the repo directly. And that's going to be where you're going to click on to download the SDK at. Yep, no problem. Everybody else in good shape? Any other questions right now? Good. Okay. All right, so I did a little bit of a messy job with the gun here. I did a better job at 3 in the morning last night. So you can see it's kind of turning in some weird directions. But it's in there, it's a gun, and I think we're going to kind of keep it at that point for the time being. So I'm going to restart my game here and see kind of how it's working for me. Okay, so we can tour around. We've got our gun there. It's not the right child of something. Jeez. So should I fix that? It's kind of messed up right now. Okay, so I think where I messed up at is I changed the value of the player and the value of the gun. So it kind of got confused about where it should be kind of rotating around. So I'm going to make one adjustment. If not, we'll just kind of keep stuff where it is. So I'm going to set my player back to 000 and see if that might work for us. And it seemed to do a pretty good job. Now I can turn around, and my gun is sticking with me when I turn around. And we can blow stuff up eventually. So just to show a little more about our scene here before we go ahead, and I'm going to go over how we can actually export that out and get it onto your phone. Even though I don't know if I got my cord in here with me. So where are we? So if we come down to our other prefab folder, so we've got one prefab folder that's inside of our cardboard, and then we have one other prefab folder that's out at the main level, so it's close to the bottom of our project folder here. We've got something called prefabs, and that's got a lot of different elements inside of it here. So it's got our gun particles, it's got all of our enemies too. So it's got the Hierophant, it's got the Zombear, and one more somewhere that I'm not seeing, I think. So just to kind of look at this a little bit more, so we got our Zombear selected here. So everything that makes this Zombear work is defined over here on the right-hand side of the screen inside of our inspector. Excuse me. So for our spawn point, remember, that was where our monsters were coming out from. The only thing on that was this top part right here, the transform part. But for all of our other elements, it's got other things that are kind of working on there too. So it still has the transform, but it's got an animator on here. So the animator tells the Zombear kind of how to move, how it's going to kind of move its arms. It's got the whole rigging system that's kind of built inside of there. All that kind of stuff is coming from our animator here. It's got our rigid body, which kind of ties into the physics that runs inside of Unity, which makes it so great. If you drop a ball, the ball's going to know to roll along the floor and that kind of thing. So you can see inside of our rigid body, we've got a mass defined. So if we wanted something to be really heavy, we could change the value of it right here, and that would change the value for us. We can do different things like with the drag on things. So do we want this object to move across freely across the table, or do we want it to stick there like kind of glue? We can change all those settings right here. We've got a capsule collider. So this is defining how something is this being hit? Is an enemy character actually colliding with our main character here? And if it is, then do something. So in our case, if it collides with the main character, it's going to tell it to go ahead and take some hit points away and get this guy closer to death. And what else we got here? We've got a sphere collider. So this one has two colliders on it, maybe one for the gun and one for the character. I can't remember exactly. We've got a nav mesh agent. So this tells our enemy characters where they can move inside of our 3D world. So can they walk on this table here? Can they walk into this corner over here? Where exactly can they walk to is all kind of defined by this nav mesh agent right here. And then coming down a little further, we've got a couple of different scripts that are working on here. So we've got our enemy attack script. So all this kind of stuff, to look really quickly here, I'm going to double click on this enemy attack right here, just so we can look at the script for about 10 seconds and see what it is that's actually controlling the script. But we can see that we've got a value here for time between attack. So that's set up at 0.5 for us. If we wanted somebody to attack more often or less often, we could just change that value. And finally, we've got a value for attack damage. So this enemy character is going to do 15 damage points every time it attacks. But if we wanted it to be a whole lot more or a whole lot less, we could just change this number and change things. So in our case, we're going to probably want to chop way down on that number, because in a traditional game, we can just kind of hold down our mouse button and shoot all over the place. But really inside of the VR space, especially with our cardboard right here, we just have this one little kind of switch over here that lets us shoot one time. So we're not going to be able to kill anybody by just shooting one time over here. So we're going to have to lower down our hit points and make our one pull here do a lot more damage. But you don't even have to get into any scripts at all for all that kind of stuff. It's all defined right over here in our inspector area. So almost there. So along with attacking, our enemies have health on them too, right? So this guy right here has 100 hit points. We can move that down or up as we need to. Sync speed is probably when they die, how fast they kind of move into the ground. And score value, so how many points do we get when we kill this thing? All being defined right there inside of the game for you. So real quick, we'll look at just this enemy attack script. You can kind of see what's controlling that behind it. It's not a whole lot of code. It's only, and you can see how many blank lines they got in here. It's about 70 lines of code, and about half of that is blank. So it really only takes about 30, 35 lines of code to set up your enemy attack script. So if you know a little bit about coding, you can kind of jump in here and see some of the stuff that's going on. Again, there's tutorials out there that'll walk you through every step of kind of creating these. So you can check that out too. So just the one thing I'll point out here, we've got our on-trigger inner right here. So this is defining when something comes into contact with our enemy, what's going to happen. We're going to run this script whenever we get that collider to run into our enemy. We get the two colliders running into each other, and then we enter into our on-trigger inner state right here. All right, so that was our 30-second scripting lesson. And back.
Gestures.
What did you say?
With gestures.
With gestures, exactly. So we are getting pretty close. I think we're about ready to go ahead and export, and way over time, unless anybody's got any questions or anything before we go ahead and I'll show you guys how to export it. And since I don't have my cord right here with me, I can't export this one. I know, but we'll at least get a chance to see how to do it. It's really not bad. So I'm going to stop my game right here.
Excited for this.
Good. I said good. And we're going to go to our build settings over here. So we're going to go to File and choose Build Settings. And we'll see. One of the great things about Unity is all the different sorts of applications in place that we can send our games and applications to. So right now, this game probably wouldn't work too good on the PC Mac side because we're setting it up for cardboard. But you can see we've got our iOS and Android choices, WebGL. So if I were making a game that I wanted to play on the internet or on Facebook, then I could just choose WebGL here. Wouldn't work probably with the VR stuff by default. But if we were just going to take like the starting game here that actually had the character in there, you could export that right to WebGL and work on it from there. And we got some other choices here for going to a television and.
What's Tizen? Tizen.
The Tizen is something. It's another kind of open source thing. I can't remember exactly, but it's. So I think it's for like Samsung watches and different devices like that. So, but they're trying to make it more for more different devices and things too. So, basically a new kind of environment that you can develop for. We're going to go ahead. In my case, I'm going to choose Android. If you're exporting to a iPhone, then you want to choose your iOS right here. And I'm going to select Android and choose the Switch platform right down here at the bottom. And that's going to take just a minute or two, hopefully, because it's going through and converting all your graphics for you automatically. You're going to want to have a different level of graphics on your phone than you're going to want to have if you're going to Xbox, right? So this does some of that work for you. It's not doing everything for you, but they're trying to make it as compatible as possible for all those different areas.
You want to borrow mine?
What's that?
You want to borrow mine?
Sure. Might as well.
It supports what's work with your phone, but you need my phone if you want.
What is that?
It supports probably to work with your phone. If you need the phone, you can't borrow it.
You're going down the tree.
Switching to a guest account.
We were given a picture.
It's like we had a lollipop, marshmallow later that. So try to get that working. So that looking in your way, nice and tipsy.
Okay. So it looks like we got a couple minutes here to talk. Anybody working on any VR stuff themselves right now that we can throw out there? Or Aubrey, was that a hand going up? You thinking about some VR stuff back there? So.
I'm a technical person here.
I don't believe that for a minute.
No, I was taking this game and I was using the AI script. So I was doing something with AI.
What's that from this same game right here?
Discord.
Oh, really? Okay. Nice.
I tried to take some AI script from here, just throw it in there, and they use like interfacing, like for the scheme, so it kind of messed
Okay, right. Yeah, so they don't always get you all the way kind of where you want to be. So it takes a little getting used to figure out what's going to work and what's not going to work and how you can kind of change some stuff around. But yeah, so that's great getting in there and experiment. That's the best way to kind of figure all this stuff out for sure. Anybody else doing any VR or got any VR ideas to throw out there?
No, but I learned so much from it.
Good.
Crazy.
Excellent.
Crazy crap.
Yep, so I guess I'll take the opportunity to plug a couple of more meetings that are right around the corner.
You can? You do that here? That's great, because I was wondering that.
Where would you guys meet?
We meet at TechTown, is our other kind of main location. So we've been doing most of the general VR stuff, so not the developer stuff that we're doing here, what we do over at TechTown. And we've been trying to get down at Bamboo too, and we were going to end up doing this one down at Bamboo, and then ended up hooking up with Aubrey and had a chance to kind of do things here. So, and we're trying to bounce around a little bit too, so kind of expose different areas a little bit also. But TechTown's a great location to kind of set up and get things going over there.
You can plug the Facebook page.
Excellent idea. We've got a Facebook page that doesn't get nearly enough traffic right now, so. There we go. Perfect. Thank you.
Me too.
Yep. So yeah, definitely. I'm trying to get it to be a more lively community on there. So jump on there and contribute.
Those kids, man.
Read.
I just want to see what those kids are going to do.
What's that?
I just want to see what those kids are going to do.
Oh, I can't think. Okay. So here's our. Yep. We got a little action going on. So if you go on Facebook and you search for Virtual Reality Detroit, that should take you to here, and hopefully it's not the wrong one. I think I got to get rid of. There's there's two different ways that we can kind of set stuff up. There's pages and groups, and I think I did a page at first, and then figured out group was better. So yeah, somebody just joined the wrong one with that little star right there. Sorry, John, it's to confuse you. Yeah. So I think you joined the page and not the group.
This is the page, I don't want the group.
Thank you. Yep. Yeah. So right up here at the top, it tells us the page. So the page had a couple more options on it, so I ended up switching things over and confusing everybody. And that is that.
And the video will be going up here.
Yep, exactly. So the video, I try and announce the meetings on here, but then all the cool things in the VR, we don't have a chance to talk about everything in the meeting. So if you see something else that's cool out there, feel free to post it up here and help to build the community. Right, it's a page and a group. So the page actually has the icon on here. It's got the picture with the hands. The group only has the little star on there. So that was one of the things that you couldn't customize out for groups.
Because you're an admin, you got another line.
Okay.
I thought I was in the wrong spot.
Okay, yep.
You said that you have tracks of discussion. What was the script? What was the current stuff? Is that all on the
I try my best to put them on there, but then we've also got our meetup page, and that was a perfect segue for me, right into our meetup page. So on our meetup, we've got 2 more meetings listed. One is really being run by another organization, but I really want, and the other co-organizers really want to build the whole VR community in Detroit. So if there's anything going on in VR, I'm pushing it out there and announcing it. So there is an event coming up on July 11th.
I will be there.
You're good.
Whenever you need me, I will be there. Or I may just be around. Who knows?
Correct. So on July 11th, it's right here at the top, I think. There's this one that's being put on by Mobile Monday Detroit. And you can see they got 57 people already signed up on here. They got a really nice lineup. They've got some great speakers that are coming out to talk. So that would be a good one to come out if you want to learn more about VR.
I'm excited to go.
What is that date?
That is July 11th. It's Monday. So we got.
Excited to go there. Let's go there.
Right, me too. And then also on the 18th, so 1 week after that, we've got our general meeting set up over at TechTown. Right, so we still got to get a little more description figured out on here, but the date's already set. You can get on here and sign up and all that good stuff. Okay, any questions about any of that stuff? Good. Yep. So yeah, the video that Chris shot from our last developer meeting, you can also get to through the Facebook page. All right. So we are set here. It finished doing all that conversion stuff for us. I'm going to do a quick check on our player settings. So we just click on this player settings button right here at the bottom. And this is kind of what lets us define all the cool stuff for our app here. So we probably need some kind of icon, so I'm going to see if I can just kind of steal the icon out of here. So let's see. You can throw your company name up at the top. I'm going to put Digital Destinies, if I can. Yep, there we go. Digital Destinies. I'm going to stick with I'm going to call it Nightmares VR. So we'll change that name just a little bit there. The default icon, I'm going to click on the select button right here. So you could design something in Photoshop and import it over here. I'm just going to kind of cheat and use one of these icons. So what kind of makes sense? I guess we've got our... Yeah.
Hey, Blair's two virtual reality things on the left, one with Paul and one with 57 members. Are those kind of like the same thing?
Give me.
It's a duplicate or something.
Is that what it is? Yeah, I'll try and come check it out too. In 1 second. So Mobile Monday is they do a little bit of everything, so all sorts of different technology related stuff. They put on nice events, they get a nice turnout, they got a big business following that goes to the different events. So they're definitely worth checking out. This is probably the first or second time they've done some VR stuff, so but always some cool technologies that they'll be discussing and previewing there.
We'll try to get them from here. Limitation, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Great. Mm-hmm. Definitely. So last thing we're going to switch over here is our bundle identifier. So this just needs to be something unique for your video game. So normally the way that they're kind of set up is it's almost like a website in reverse. So the com part comes first. So it's com.company. So mine would be com.digitaldestinies. And then the name of the game would come after that probably. So I'll go ahead and switch that over just to make sure we don't have any conflicts with anything else here. So I'll do Digital Destinies. And finally, I'll do whatever it was, Nightmare VR. And that should be everything I need. So I'm just going to take Chris's phone here that he was nice enough to give to me and plug it on up to our USB port. Let's see if we can get in. There we go. So we got our phone plugged in, and we're just going to go ahead and cross our fingers, and we're going to click on the build and run right here. So it's going to ask us to name our file. We'll call it Nightmare VR one more time. This is for our actual APK file that we're naming right now. And let it go. So it's going to go through and look at all the stuff in your game and figure out what parts it needs to kind of pull out that's going to be necessary to put on your phone. And it's going to do all that hard work for you while you can sit back and grab a sip of water. And it's nice, it kind of walks you through everything, so it tells us that it's looking for a device right now, and hopefully it's going to find it. It's right here. You see it? We got to make sure the USB debugging is turned on. Yeah, so do you know how to figure that part out there?
Unless you're in developer mode, it won't load that APK for you.
You are correct. Yep. So yeah, I did that so long ago. I forgot about that step. So developer mode. Is anybody actually following along on these steps of getting the game out right now? Or are people a little behind maybe? Okay. Yep. So Yeah, there's.
Where was that hit? I've done that before.
It's a crazy way. I think I'm going to leave that part for you guys to Google and we can kind of talk about it. But it's like hitting something 7 times, and it's just a little ridiculous on how you get into the developer mode. They kind of try and hide it for some reason. So yeah, we'll see if Chris can figure it out up here. But really, this is going to be the last step. Once you have your phone set up in developer mode, then it'll be able to accept this app. It's going to download it. It'll be an icon right along with all your other apps on your phone, and you can click on it, and you'll be able to open it up, and it'll be set up. It'll give you your 2 screens, just like we saw up here. So all you're going to need to do is kind of drop it into your cardboard device and spin your head around, and you've got a VR application. And you even got a little trigger over here that might or might not be set up to work because we didn't really customize that part out too much. And if you can, then you'll be able to kind of shoot right inside of your application too.
So it should just be under lock screen and security.
Is that right? They moved it? Okay.
Oh.
There's a little tab to say unknown sources.
Okay. Well, that's for installing third-party apps.
Right, because this is a third-party app. It's
Right.
made, it's not from the Play Store, which used to be called developer mode.
Oh, it's tough to stay up nowadays.
Okay, so that's not going to do it. So I do have more options now that I switch back to the main account.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You have to go into apps, settings, app permissions. No. System settings? Oh, it was in lock screen? Security?
Security, right? Security.
Let's go back. Security. Go.
So on my phone, you have to go to the
About device.
I think it's about device and then like tap.
About phone.
Yeah.
Go
And it
all the way
depends
down.
on which, if you got.
And then just tap that a bunch of times.
Oh, there we go.
Ah, there we go. Now you are now a developer. There we go.
Sweet.
Thanks. Remember. There's no way I could have remembered that.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, I just remembered it was a long.
Maybe. All right, so I guess that's it. We're to work now.
Good to go. Okay, so I'm going to retry right here and see if it's going to find it for us.
Charging file transfer. All right, maybe that'll work.
Great, great. And it's going to look. Come on. We'll give it one more try.
Plug in.
Maybe I'll unplug and replug again.
Transfers. Maybe you have to open it up in Windows Explorer, like open up your file browser, and then if you maybe you have to mount it. Maybe that was the old way. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought it should just work.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna give it one more try, and then you guys are gonna have to take my word for it.
Try hitting Windows E, and then.
You said what?
Windows key and E. That'll open up the Explorer, and see if you can see your Nexus 5X. See if you just go in there, maybe that. And open.
Enable USB debugging also.
Oh, yeah. So let's see. Where's that?
Developer options.
Okay, so it must be in the settings somewhere.
Yeah, it added mine.
So let's see. Developer options. Then USB debugging. Ah, that's what it is.
Yep, there we go. So
Okay.
you need to turn on USB debugging, and you need to be set up as a developer on your phone. And it's just switching some options. You can Google it and find out exactly how. It's different for different cardboard or for gingerbread and all that stuff. So we're going to go ahead and give this one more try here and see what we can do. Detecting player. We already made it past that. So if anybody was interested in developing for other devices besides the cardboard, there's other SDKs that are out there and available. So if you looked a little further down on that top free list that we looked at in the asset store, there's the Steam VR that's sitting, Steam VR SDK that's sitting up right on there too. So they've got a lot of cool stuff inside of there too that's going to be a little different than the Google SDK. It's kind of set up so the Steam VR works along with the HTC Vive. So it's got stuff for the controllers inside of there. There we go. Yep, good point. So all good stuff. A lot more stuff to kind of check out. And yeah, if you got more questions, say the Facebook page is a great place. You kind of got started tonight maybe, and we can help you get to the next level by just getting out there and doing a little posting.
I think I got a general idea of what's going on here.
Excellent. And Demond announced that he was one of my old students too, so got a little bit of everybody here, which is great to see. And we should be finished. Uh-oh, I need your code one more time, Chris.
Okay. Easy. Fingerprint on there.
Oh, there we go.
Screen's a little dark. Let me brighten that up for you. Here we go.
All right, and there we are. We got our 2 screens on there. We can turn our head and navigate in VR space. And if you tap, you can do your little kind of shooting motion inside there too. And game over, I died already. And that is a VR app in less than 2 hours. Questions? Wait. All right, so I guess that does it for our presentation part. Really what I wanted to be a little bit more of, which might not kind of work out this time around, was people kind of teaming up and figuring out who's where and who's a musician that can contribute to this and who's an artist that can contribute to this, and kind of form some virtual reality teams to get some projects out there. So I'm not sure that's going to happen tonight, but definitely, we can carry stuff over onto the Facebook page. If you've got something you're working on, you want to find somebody that can help you out with some area or another area, or if you just want to kind of get together and work, we've got here on Wednesdays, or we can start to branch out on our own too. So should be good.
So is anybody trying to work on a particular project tonight, or did you want to play around a bit more? Anybody?
I'm just actually just working on tutorials, like basically just right now I was doing some Java programming tutorials, basically just get my skills up to speed. Okay, so.
Well, I was referring to the virtual reality.
And I was also working on like a game with another team, so I'm doing both at the same time.
Is anybody working on virtual reality tonight?
We were just getting into checking out WebVR, which was mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Which is like in-browser VR stuff. That's kind of specifically what we're working on taking around.
Okay, excellent.
Is that for your job or for yourself or both? Or?
Well, we're trying to explore it. We know it's just for a project right now.
Okay.
We're really interested in it. He's currently got it on his phone in the browser. He's opened up Google Chrome on his phone, and he's currently got the VR stuff running in there. So we've had a card where we can throw that in there right now and run VR stuff out of Chrome, which is just really convenient.
Definitely.
Is it WebVR?
Yeah.
And you're able to do it without Chromium, or
No, just regular.
regular Chrome?
I mean, that kind of ability to just get someone right into it. I mean, that means when they get Chrome, when they get their cardboard in the mail, they just put their phone in and they'll download and just go right into it.
There you
You
go.
just hook
Right.
your phone up to the computer with a USB, right?
Not really. I just send the link to my phone. Yeah, this is really nice.
So that, right now, I would suggest, if you want to check out what we're looking at right now, do so. Talk amongst yourselves. If you want, Blair, if you're willing to stick around for a little bit, ask Blair some questions. Talk to each other about the projects that you want to work on. So that what you guys tell us you want to do kind of dictates what we bring here. If you guys want to continue to work on a VR project, maybe next time or the week after. I think next week we're not going to do it. I think I'm going to be here myself, or maybe like 2 people, because it'll be it's close to the holiday. So we might have to do a little competition or something like that next week. I'll come up with something. But the week after that, we'll get back into our workshops. Again, you guys can work on whatever you want to. You can be part of the workshops, or you can be outside in the lobby working on something else. We even open up the other room down the hall if you want to work in a team. Right now, guys, I would encourage you guys just to talk to each other and ask Blair if you have any more questions. Don't be afraid, all right? Be polite, but don't be too polite, all right? Ask the questions, talk to each other, all right? And I need to get some info from some of the folks who are going to bring more people here.